Hey, what's up, Lumberjacks? My name is Jeremiah Finley. I'm the AS President, and today I want to talk to you about what AS is and how it impacts your life. Associated Students is your student government. We advocate for you both at the state and campus level. Here on campus, we have many and multiple committees to help you all get engaged and involved and make sure that your input is there in every single conversation around campus. One committee that I really want to draw our attention to is our new Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee. This committee has been spearheaded by our Social Justice and Equity Officer, Roman Sotomayor. This committee is designed to make sure that students can directly have a space for them to put input in on diversity, equity, and inclusion, and create some really creative solutions to a lot of old problems that we have here on this campus. Additionally, we're focusing on creating better voter registration for our students and for the community at large. Our Lobby Core Committee will be doing a lot of voter advocacy and voter education around this year's election. These are some of the amazing things that we're all focusing on this semester. I would really invite you all to participate and take part in this work that we're doing. It's important. And we'll be able to give back to the students who will come after us, and so forth and so on. My name is Jeremiah Finley. I'm the AS President, and I really enjoy and appreciate if you reach out to me at jaf144@humboldt.edu or visit our AS website and reach out to one of our board of directors members. Thank you all so much, and welcome to Humboldt.
Hey everybody, my name is Jenn Capps, and I am your new provost. I started on August 1st, and I'm really excited to be here. And the very first thing I wanted to say was thank you to President Jackson for offering me some time to speak with you all today. To our students, I wanted to commend you all for making a very smart choice in pursuing your education, particularly during these challenging times, and pursuing your education at Humboldt State University. You're already on your way to brilliance. And to our faculty and to our staff, I wanted to say thank you. Thank you for your hard work and your dedication to student success in preparing your courses and your creativity in offering student support services to assist our students in being successful. It's because of you and your collaborative efforts that we're able to offer our students a quality education. As some of you know, I came to Humboldt State from Metropolitan State University of Denver, and I've spent the last 24 years in Colorado. And honestly, it took a lot to pry me out of Colorado, but the quality and character at HSU really did it for me, and it really was no contest. My academic background centers on the intersection between rehabilitation of youthful offenders and the criminal justice system. A lot of time spent on social justice issues, and I've spent much of my career inside and outside of academia, working to build collaborative teams and working to solve problems in an innovative way. I spent the last 12 years at MSU Denver, starting as a contract faculty member and working my way through the tenure system, and eventually becoming a full professor and moving into administrative work. As an administrator, I worked with faculty and industry and community partners to build degree programs. I developed public-private partnerships that helped our university become more financially sustainable. And I spent a lot of time creating programming and obtaining funding to provide access and support for first-generation low-income and diverse students. I did a lot of grant work, study abroad work, and I mention all of that to you because sometimes I think it's good to know a little bit about who I am and potentially some of those skills and resources and experiences that I might be able to translate to my work here at Humboldt State. So I came to Humboldt State for a variety of reasons. Number one, the excellence in programming, and the faculty and the staff and the students just blew me away. You all are exceptional. The focus on sustainability and social justice, the value of diversity, equity, and inclusivity that lives at Humboldt State University, I just had to be here and be a part of this. The last thing that really drew me to Humboldt State were the huge opportunities that exist. The institution is already an amazing place, but there's so much room for growth. Growth in programming, growth in opportunity, growth in innovation, growth in workforce partnerships, growth in financial wellness and support of our students, and growth in opportunities for civic and community service. And I think together we can make a great university an even more exceptional one. So I wanted to take a few minutes to share with you what my priorities are for the institution. So I have two main priorities that have three tenets attached to them. So my priorities are wanting to continue to advance the academic excellence and continue to advance access. And I'll explain my terms here in just a minute. But bearing in mind academic excellence and access. Sometimes people say a university should be accessible and will compromise the excellence. Other times folks say we really want to be the most excellent institution and we want to deny access. I think we can be both. I'd very much like us to be an institution that defines ourselves by who we include and not who we exclude. So in thinking about academic excellence and advancing access, there's three tenets that I'd like us to think about as we move through this next year. When thinking about excellence and access, making sure that we have diversity, equity, and inclusivity in mind. Okay, so making sure all the decisions that we make really are prudent and helpful in advancing forward diversity, equity, and inclusivity work. The decisions that we make about academic excellence and access have financial wellness in mind. What are we doing to contribute to the financial wellness of the institution and the financial wellness of our students? One of the biggest things I heard during my interview process was that this was a pain point at our institution, the finances piece. And so really going to work hard to move through that and solve for that. And then lastly, safety. So it's been said a million times and you'll hear it a million more, all of the concerns and the important things that we need to do to ensure that we're safe during this COVID-19 pandemic. And so we'll continue to make decisions about academic excellence and advancing access with public health and safety in mind. But safety can go beyond that too. It can be making sure and ensuring that we move more toward having a university that feels even more safe in terms of safety of expression, safety of expressing ideas. And so really want to make sure that when we think about academic excellence and access, we think about those things as well. So academic excellence, what do I mean? Well, there's a million things that can go under academic excellence, and I'm really going to rely on you all, faculty, staff, and students, to help support me in generating great ideas. But I have a few off the cuff that I'd like to share with you. Continue to retain our top-notch faculty and our excellence of programs, but getting the word out about our great accomplishments, the great programs that we have, our great faculty, our great students. I don't think enough people know what amazing things we have going on here. So let's get the word out. Making sure our faculty, our staff, and our students have what they need to be successful. Do they have training materials? Do they have their books? Do they have access to technology? Do they have research materials? Let's make sure that we work hard to make sure that resources are distributed in a meaningful way. Advancing excellence, retaining and attracting and recruiting faculty and staff with expertise and with the diversity that mirrors our students. That's very, very important from my perspective. Continuing also to assess and to reassess our academic offerings. So that's one that I think can give sometimes faculty and staff, even students, a little bit of pause. Like, what does she mean by that? What I mean is that it's always important to assess our academic offerings and make sure that they're what faculty believe makes sense, but also what students think that makes sense, that industry and our community, that we're in alignment with what our offerings are, and that they are meeting the needs of our students, and that they are viable and sustainable. So I'm going to spend a lot of time partnering with our faculty and other community members to work through and make sure that we're feeling like we're not only offering the best that we can, but even better. Working hard also to align excellence in academic programming with workforce and industry opportunities, and also with community partnerships. So there's never been a better time to get our students out there in the community and offering opportunities for civic engagement, for internships, for volunteer work, but also engaging our workforce and our industry partners to provide opportunities for our students to get real-world experience while perhaps earning some academic credit. And hey, maybe even getting paid during that time. And so doing that kind of work can also lead to things like increasing and diversifying revenue streams, which would be an incredible thing to continue to move toward for our institution. And lastly, under the area of academic excellence, advancing academic excellence, is continuing to assess ways that we can be interdisciplinary and the ways in which we can be future-focused. And so what I mean by those two things are this: how can we have multiple programs across the institution, whether it's student success programs, whether it's academic programs? How can we work together in interdisciplinary ways to work smarter, right? And to leverage the skills and strengths of our colleagues to help students to be even more successful. And in regard to future focused, let's not just think about what might be a good academic program or student support service today or even tomorrow, but what might work in 10 years and 20 years and 50 years. Let's get ahead of the curve and truly be innovative. So I'll be looking for your brilliant ideas in terms of ways that we can be even more future focused. So I'll shift gears for a moment to the topic of advancing access. So remember what I said before, I'd like to define ourselves by who we include, not who we exclude. Having access to education not only betters each individual person, but it makes our communities better. And advancing access to students goes hand in hand with student success metrics. So continuing to improve ways to financially help to support students with things like scholarships, apprenticeships, paid internships, workforce partnerships, building to have even more and more opportunities for students. So maybe at some point we could say every student at Humboldt State University has either a scholarship, an apprenticeship, a paid internship, or, a work experience during their time here. Advancing access to me also means attracting more local students, attracting more students that are perhaps they're part-time students, or they're older students, or community members that are wanting to come back to add skills, add a second degree, or maybe just a course or two, because they're wanting to scale up their skills. And so creating more access for everybody to pursue education. Increasing our online, our hybrid, and our technology capacity, right? So we're all sitting here in this COVID-19 time, and most of our academic curriculum is online with some face-to-face exceptions this coming fall. So we shifted very quickly, and again, hats off to our faculty and staff for making that happen. And when we shift back to doing much more face-to-face coursework, does it make sense to continue some pathways for online programming and education? Do we build out more of those pathways so we can reach some of our rural community members or potential students that can't get to Humboldt State University? It's just too hard every day. So what makes sense in that online space? And then making sure that we have the technological capacity to meet the needs of our faculty, staff, and students. Couple more things. So wanting to continue in advancing access by building our HSI standing. So proud. It's one of the things that led me to HSU was the HSI status. And so taking that HSI standing to leverage the depth and breadth of support and resources and opportunities that exist for us. Things like grant opportunities, programming, and pathways to support our students. Really want to build on that to improve access for more students to gain support. I'd also like to improve relationships and access for our tribal communities to seek education at Humboldt State University. What can we do to continue to open the doors and those pathways for our tribal communities to feel supported here at HSU? The last thing on access, and this is a big topic that I'll probably speak about in some other time, is helping our students, and this means with faculty and staff and students, but helping our students to seek not just maybe one pathway for success here at Humboldt State University, but multiple pathways of success. So what I mean is making sure that students may declare a major, but maybe they have a backup plan. Maybe they have a second backup plan in case the plan that they have in their mind fails. So creating multiple pathways to success from entry to graduation. When we help students to create these multiple pathways, it often leads to these higher graduation rates, better success for our students. What I always say is there is no golden ticket. It used to be, or sometimes there's this belief that you get a degree and automatically you'll get a job. Well, that isn't necessarily the case, or you'll get into grad school. Well, that isn't necessarily the case. So how do we support our students in creating pathways and relationships, gaining mentors, learning about social capital, financial wellness, connecting with faculty and staff before that all-important time to ask for that letter of recommendation? They shouldn't be banging on your office, right, when they need that letter, but creating those relationships. And so those are the things. All right. So again, excellence, faculty and excellence of programs, diversity of faculty and staff, retention, aligning our academic programming with workforce and industry, interdisciplinary approaches, future-focused, financial support for students, supporting and attracting local students, part-time students, online offerings, our HSI status, our tribal community access, and pathways, lots of pathways. So how do we get there? Well, I'm going to need your help. These are my lofty ideas, and I think they're completely attainable based on what I know about this incredible community. But I do need your help. I'm brand new to the institution. So here are the couple things that I'd ask. I intend to go on several listening tours. So what that means is visiting with your team and hearing about your area, your program, your academic area, your student success program, and learning what you're all about, what your great ideas are. Obviously, that'll look a little different in these times of COVID-19, but please invite me to your meeting. Invite me to your virtual meeting. Tell me what you're all about. I really want to learn from the history and the expertise of the great people here. Second, I'll be setting up what's known as an idea catcher link on the Provost website. So what that means is it's an opportunity for you to submit your idea. You can do it anonymously. You can put your name attached to it, and send me your ideas about what makes Humboldt State University great. What are the areas we could do better at? What's that great thing that you've been sitting on that, man, you just wish somebody would listen because you have it all figured out in terms of what will make Humboldt State even a better institution? So please keep in mind one quick thing. It's not a complaint site. That's not what it's meant to be. It's an idea catcher. I want your strength-based, data-informed, wacky, wild ideas, okay? It can be fully baked, it can be half-baked. Doesn't matter to me. But it isn't intended to be a complaint site. You can certainly leave complaints, I suppose, if you want to, but I want your ideas. I want to make sure that I can access and leverage all the great expertise here at Humboldt State University. So be looking for that link and more information about the Idea Catcher website. Lastly, one of the values that I share and I think is really, really important is the idea of inclusive leadership. So what that means to me is leveraging our human capital. Our people are our greatest asset. And I really want to work for us to be one team of leaders where we're identifying a problem and we're all getting on one side of the problem and the problem's over here. And we're working together to solve for this. We're not cross-fighting with each other, but we're working together to improve this incredible institution. And in solving for problems or identifying opportunities, I like to bring together cross-functional teams. A cross-functional team means to me that there's diverse representation around the table, or the virtual table as it is right now, and we have people from all levels of the institution: administrators, faculty, staff members, students, maybe community members. And that diverse representation leads to a really cool team of folks with unique expertise that really can help to solve for unique ideas and opportunities. So again, cross-functional teams, listening tours, idea catcher, link. So please help me and teach me what I need to know about Humboldt State. So with that, I'd just like to say that I'm very, very proud to be entering the academic year 2020 to 2021 with each of you, and I welcome you all to this academic year, and I'm so excited about what we're going to accomplish together. I offer each of you grace and flexibility as we navigate the challenges and opportunities of this next year together. Thank you so much.
Good day to all of you, and welcome to our 2020 Fall Welcome. It was a year ago that I stood on the stage with a podium in front of me and a few hundred people inside an auditorium, not a single person on Zoom or anywhere else, to greet me and say hello to me upon the very first fall semester. And 1 year away, 2 power outages and 1 pandemic that seems to be ongoing. Here we are again in our new Zoom world. So welcome back. I hope you had a good summer. There's no question that we certainly have had to go through our share of change and other things of that sort with family, friends, and ourselves. But it's good that you're all here with the optimism for us to begin another academic year. I'll start with a short story and then try and use the next 40 or so minutes to kind of update us on the many things that have been occurring in the past year or so. One of the biggest things, though, was a father moment. And it's relatable, I should say, to what happens oftentimes with our own children. My son, who is 22 years old, and I, on occasion, will write or talk about him, is an avid climber, as in, from the moment he was little, he was climbing out of his crib. As he grew up, he was teaching his sister how to climb out of the crib. And as he grew a little older, he'd be climbing on bookshelves. Then he'd be climbing in trees. And each one of those times, we got accustomed as parents to just seeing him do what he did, even though other parents around us would be looking at him saying, he's in the tree. And the truth is, we knew he'd be in the tree. And he hadn't fallen yet, and this was what he did. Flash forward almost 15 years or so, and now he's climbing big things. And he's had this small goal for the last few months, if not years, to climb the face of Devil's Tower. Devil's Tower is infamous for a number of TV shows, particularly a movie, but it's one of the tourist attractions in Wyoming, just outside of Spearfish, South Dakota, where we lived a year ago. So he's always wanted to climb that face, and he finally had the skill he believed and had the people around him to do that. Takes a little while to do that, and it's very technical, of course, because it's pretty much a flat face. It's not something parents really look forward to hearing about their children do. Yet he was doing this. And as the day progressed, we wondered how he was doing, because I'm here and Mona wasn't there. And so somewhere a few hours later, I get a phone call, and it's a wonderful phone call. He's on top of the Devil's Tower, and the first thing he wanted to do was tell his dad, me, Dad, I made it. I'm on top of Devil's Tower. And of course, the first thing I think of is, why were you bringing your cell phone up the face of Devil's Tower? But I didn't say that. I was just happy to get that phone call, and happy that he was wanting to tell me with such excitement that he had successfully made it to the top. Of course, then I started thinking he still has to get down, and I'm not going to rest until he's all the way down, back on the ground. So we chatted a little while. He did not see any aliens on top of Devil's Tower, or if he did, he's not telling us about it. He made it down about an hour or so later, and then he called and said he's back on Earth, flat Earth, and everything went well. It was a wonderful story, and it speaks in many respects about what it is that we do. In so many ways, we set up our students to have a dream, an aspiration. And in that dream or aspiration is the desire to actually do something different, something amazing, maybe something beyond their own ability to do that. And in this particular moment in time, it took him a couple years to prepare for it, and he did it. And he did it well. And he now gets to tell a story that only a few people have ever done, which is to climb something very majestic and magical. Now, I wish he'd put that same energy into his studies, but that's a different conversation along the way. In the past year, a lot of things have occurred. And I put this slide right up front because you don't always get to see some of the things that I'm doing as the year begins, because we are buried in our own environments. Me in the office of the presidency, and in the community in some respects, yourselves, many of you advising students or lab work or inside the classroom. But this is a snippet, these next two slides, of some of the things that we've been doing as an office, and how we've really deliberately tried to influence and be a part of not only this community, but the things happening around this campus over the past year. Keep in mind that a big piece of this was done before COVID. Call it 5 to 6 months worth of work. And if COVID in its form did not stop many of us cold in our tracks, February, March, April, May, then I'm not sure what this list would exactly look like. I don't think it would be double by any measure, but I think it would be slightly different as well. In a nutshell, we went to more community fairs and festivals and rodeos, and this was really an attempt to be around people and to re-engage the community, and many of you who are at these events, in informal conversation, and reconnect ourselves, not only me to a community, but also that community back to their humble state. We also went to more dinners and celebrations, and it showed in my waistline, but we went to more dinners and celebrations for that same reason. And you can read some of that list. We visited as many tribal communities as we could. It's my goal this next year to regularly visit the different tribal communities as frequently as possible when we're able to travel to those communities and really become a part of it. That is one of the top goals that I have this next year. Will be me doing exactly that, along with others within my respective area. We also had a fairly significant number of campus coffees or community small group one-on-one meetings. That continued in Zooms. I did have a little fun last, summer. I didn't do that this summer. I took a fly fishing class. Many of you heard about that. Some of you offered to go fly fishing with me. And then the semester came, and away we went, like now. But I'd like to get back into that because it was a lot of fun doing that. And this time, rather than throwing back, I'd like to catch and actually eat something along the way. Went to a couple of games, went to a good number of athletic events, a lot of chamber mixers from here to Fortuna, a number of alumni events, and certainly a number of days in the CSU where presidents have to be for different events, which keep us abreast of all the things happening around us. It's the role of this presidency But as you look at some of these things, that in essence is how I've tried to define that first year amongst some of the many other accomplishments that we have had. This is what we're going to talk about over the next few minutes. A short story again on dreams, friendly reminder of what state universities look like. I'll spend a little time on COVID-19 and some of our budget adjustments. There'll be more time to chat on that later. And then things I ask us to do as we move forward. Before I move too much further into this PowerPoint and fall welcome, I do want to acknowledge all of you that are watching, not just the faculty and the staff, but many of our community leaders and other leaders within the community. One especially is Dr. Keith Finley, the president of the College of the Redwoods. He and I have worked tirelessly together to try and connect our two campuses, not only because of COVID, but even before COVID, not just academically, but from a student engagement perspective, as well as connecting and maintaining a relationship within our respective communities. It's wonderful to have such a colleague and friend on that side of the house where we can strategize and see how we can connect those students at CR to becoming students here, or vice versa when our students need to transition back. And so to Dr. Flamer, thank you for your support and your willingness to be a dear friend of this university. Last year, we spoke about dreams. And at the end of this fall welcome, there will be a friendly reminder of what that entails. For many, it's a matter of seeing this opportunity, this hearing in their voices, this student voices or parent voices, this dream, this aspiration, this idea that college will provide a better life pathway for their son or daughter or themselves. And we aspire to that as a university. It means a lot to us as a university, and it's the soul of the work in many respects of what it is that we are doing, helping individuals see a dream come true. It was really apparent during the virtual commencement and seeing the stories, hearing the comments in the virtual receptions that I attended, and then seeing the student comments of how much pride not only they had, but also their family had in them earning that degree. But behind that was the hope, the genuine hope that those students, graduates, alumni would help us create a better earth, a better place, a better society, which we all are so optimistic. And what that may look like, we all have pictures of what that may be. But I want to remind us that we are in this dream business and that we're in a place that while we can easily get caught up in our day-to-day work, at the end of the day, it's about helping people earn a degree and do something amazingly sincere for our community and our societies at large. And that's create a better place, whether it's cleaner water, better energy, better opportunities for those less fortunate. Your role as faculty and your role as individuals, staff on this campus, all are connected. Every single one of us matters, and every single one of us, is needed to get that student or those students over that finish line at the end of their time here at Humboldt. So thank you. Thank you very much for your devotion and commitment to sustaining this long-lasting process that we have. In a large degree, between your work and the support of our community, that's what makes this not only an amazing place, but also provides the special people that really see the continuity to getting us to the end of graduating students on this campus. I'm going to jump ahead and talk a little bit about, very briefly, state universities. I said this last year in so many words, but it really is a friendly reminder that we are not a private university, really, and that we serve the society, we serve the public for the public good. And many of us are products of state universities. Not all of us, but many of us are. And it was an opportunity for us to earn a degree and to do something different. That opportunity led to employment, and that employment certainly leads to economic sustainability within a community that we happen to be in. Our role within this community as a university is extremely significant. But it's not something we boast. It's something that we try to be very socially responsible about as a university. It's what drives, in many respects, the North Coast. And there's only 23 communities in the state of California that can say they have a CSU in those communities with the vibrancy that a CSU brings to a university. It also means that our public needs to know our value. And I could say this, if I'm being honest, not only with myself, but us as a campus. We may not have expressed this as well as we should have been or should have been doing. And we're certainly not perfect even doing it now. We will continue to work on this because it's that value that is what continues to bring people back through the doors as new freshmen or transfers to this university, or it's that value that inspires a new generation of faculty who want to be inside the classroom or inside the laboratory, or today doing a Zoom with students. That's an important piece of what it is that we do. And so we will continue to try and improve our communication, particularly in on this point, because COVID has changed how we do that. And it's testing universities' value every single day, given all the other things that we must deal with. So give us a little patience on that, but also help us as we go through that. The third is for us as a university to continue to make our case for support. And I'd like to think that we have done that fairly well over the past year through the philanthropy, particularly, and the community support that has been provided, not just in philanthropy, but in work, in internships, and in guidance along the way. We talk about 4 things, and I ask us to remember these 4 things. They drive me every single day. I wake up, like many of you, and I ask us to rephrase or state this phrase in why we may be doing something within the university, and that is to provide our students a positive, meaningful, educational experience. 4 words in that order: positive, meaningful, educational experience. Simply put, it's not that students get their way by any measure. We're teachers, we're practitioners, we're educators. We are guiding them through a process so that they can hone those skills, mostly here, but use them when they get into the workforce outside of this university later on. But like us, we want them to have a place that is more positive than negative, a place that they feel safe, a place that they can express themselves, a place that they can find other individuals that they can learn from, if not become partners with in life. A place that they add meaning to why it is that they are doing what it is that they're doing. A place that they learn and can build a resume that will enable them to find work later on. Those are all part of that positive, meaningful educational experience. And that is one of our strengths, being a hands-on, learning by doing type of campus. Those hands-on, meaningful experiences is really, in some respects, what separates the Humboldt State University from many other universities throughout the United States. We will continue to try and do that in our own little way as we go along. But as you hear me say those things, it's not going to be the first time. And it's refreshing to hear so many others restate that same or those same words as we're talking about what it is that we're doing on campus or why we are making some of the changes we are on campus. Let's shift and talk a little bit about accomplishments. And this is a place that may be the most rewarding for me, because it speaks to the hundreds of different things that we have done over the past year in trying to meet our mission as educators on this campus. And in no particular order, I won't state them all, But I will state some of these, and I ask you to read along with me in some of them. The first is athletics. I want us to be reminded of the fact that athletics is 300 plus, 330-ish student athletes that come here, not because they want to become professional athletes, although I think in the back of all of our heads, we secretly hope that we will aspire or have a world record and become that person. We come here because it's our means to continue our education, and it's something we want to do. It's who we are. It's part of who we are. Just like an artist may want to continue to draw or paint or make music, and coming here with a music scholarship enables them to do that. But those 330 student athletes aren't majoring in basketball no more than they're majoring in track. They have majors in any number of the disciplines that you, our faculty and staff support, teach at this university. They have a degree and they take 15 hours of classes from each of you. Nearly all of those student athletes do not have scholarships, full rides like we think. They're often mixed or matched or a combination of some of their other aid. Despite this, let's take a peek at what they've been able to do. Despite COVID, our student athletes posted an overall GPA of 3.36. 49 of our students were named as presidential scholars for achieving at least a 3.85. This is in alignment with all the other things they are asked to do, including bus rides ranging from a minimum of 4 hours to a maximum of 16 hours, including drives and flights, to other places all throughout not only Oregon, but California. So between studying on buses and airplanes, to long practices, to meeting their obligations in class and staying in school, they are demonstrating very clearly how to be not only a student, but a student scholar in that. We've also been very active in volunteering. They are leading the way and, in fact, partnering with others on campus to help increase voter turnout. Not because they have a political agenda, because they are committed to getting students engaged civically. Continuing on, I think it's important that we recognize that our retention is under attack, yet we're still trying to influence that in a meaningful way. HSU supports a vibrant student life, as you can see that. But some of the things we've been adjusting, particularly over the summer, are directly in line so that we can improve services for our students. Our students have been asking for a different type of dining experience for a number of years, through the notes that I've read in the Office of the President to my year on campus with 3 different AS presidents. That has been fairly consistent, including different retail options in our bookstore and different programs for our students to engage in outside of the classroom. These are things that we will continue to try and enhance and improve, not only to keep students on campus, but when students visit our campus, we want them to see not only what they see on some other campuses, but also things that are better than what they're seeing on other campuses. And that's a big piece of why we're doing what we're doing. Looking at this, you can look at 3 amazing things between our outstanding students or day of service or esports. But something we wanted to do very deliberately was esports. We will add a sports program or something along the way when COVID lets us, but esports can operate with or without COVID. And right now, our PC Gaming Club is leading our efforts to establish and maintain our esports team and league through not only last spring, but into this next academic year. This is one of the fastest growing programs on the campus. And for some of us who are generationally challenged, it seems far distant from some of the things we used to do, like play football or badminton or things of that sort. But it is here, and it is one of the most involved activities that we have, and will become that, and will remain that for a number of years. From an alumni point of view, not only have our alums been very giving, they've also been very supportive of this university. As you peek at some of the numbers, we've maintained an annual giving of somewhere in the neighborhood of $5 million over the past year. But there have been a couple of families that have been a little more generous than others. Dan and Cindy Phillips created the new scholarship for Fortuna High School's graduates. This was a generous gift of $250,000. Now, Dan grew up in Humboldt County, and he's one of Hulu's leaders. And it makes a big difference that he is willing to not only graciously, he and Cindy willing to not only provide Fortuna students opportunities and CR students opportunities, but also Humboldt State, those students who want to come from Fortuna to Humboldt State, the means and opportunity to not only come to this university, but stay at this university. There's also our retired rowing coach, Robin Biggs, and her husband, Scott Heller. They also generated a very generous $250,000 to endow new scholarships for student athletes in women's rowing. That kindness is going to go a long way. Not only is that program amazing, the alumni that are part of that program, when they come together, the heartfelt connection they have not only to Coach Miggs, but to this university is extremely strong and very noticeable. It may be the strongest out of all the different groups that come to this university or disciplines that are part of this university. But those rowers, they're special, and they share it, and they come together, and it's really heartfelt to see the love that they have for each other. Thank you to Robin and Scott and Dan and Cindy for their generosity and your kindness. And then one of our biggest accomplishments in this past year, and it's certainly going to be one of our bigger ones going into this year, is the return of nursing. This is one of those we had to scratch through on so many different levels, but it has arrived, not only to having the personnel in place to carry it forward, but actually to have the students in place who will be taking their first classes in the coming weeks in our program. So that is an amazing accomplishment for us, and it will lead us to many more similar type health degrees, I hope, in the future. Continuing on, one of the things we did fairly early on was focus on the local students. And it was before COVID that we traveled to many different high schools and talked to community leaders. Their generosity provided a good amount of support for the Humboldt First Scholarship, as did the University Foundation. That's just a small piece of it, though, because the relationships that were formed with those different high schools have been very transformative for us as a university. Key in that has been our relationship with the College of the Redwoods. And we've never had a more important champion than President Keith Flamer at CR. Earlier this year, we signed a broad memorandum of understanding committing our two institutions to work really closely together on a number of different topics, and we'll continue to do that over this next year. In academics, you can see some of the things that we have been doing, but a major effort has been in the expansion of our learning community offerings for incoming freshmen. In many respects, this is one of the things that has separated us from other universities in California, and one way that we'll define ourselves going forward. Another area that we've engaged in academic affairs is in our service learning courses last year, where more than 1,100 students worked with more than 220 community and campus organizations. Roughly told, as you see on that slide, that's 7,600 hours. That's just a small number compared to the totality of students that are doing service work across the region or the United States. Our challenge is to get those numbers all in one place so that we can celebrate them. A new concentration in tribal forestry will allow students to meet qualifications for federal employment with the grounding in Native American natural resource perspectives. This is a big step for us as a university and a wonderful link between our tribal communities. Continuing on, as you can see, we've had a team of professors receive nearly $500,000 from the Natural Science Foundation to add a high-energy micro-CT scanner system in biology. This is a big step for us as a university, and one of many where we connect not only grant resources or external resources to the work that we are doing at a university. Regarding diversity, equity, and inclusion, the HSU Foundation established the Cultural Programming Fund, which provides $150,000 over the next 3 years for programming by the cultural centers and the Office of the Dean of Students and other diverse student organizations. This is the university, through the foundation, investing in diversity, equity, and inclusion in a substantial way to help us improve what it is that we do on campus. Under facilities, administration, and finance, there have been a number of wonderful accomplishments in the past year. One that I'd like to point out is HSU's Northern California Small Business Development Center, which provides services across 36 counties. It moved to its new headquarters on 3rd Street in Eureka. There's no secret. We want to do more things in Eureka, in large part because it's the larger community in our county, but it also is the epicenter of most of our economic development, many of our alumni, and there are a lot of businesses and industry located in that community. Having the Small Business Development Center located there with the branding of HSU is a big step for us as a university. It aligns as well with all the 36 counties throughout Northern California. Research, I talked about this a little last year, and I want to encourage us to continue to do that over the coming year. I think this is a place, not a campus place, but a place on campus where we can really excel and arguably become prolific. I am not saying we're becoming a research university, not even close. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about our ability to find external funding on so many levels in so many places. And we're seeing that through these success stories. A recent economic impact study found that we generate more than $567 million in industry activity. The groundbreaking microgrid has changed how we are perceived nationally because of the SHOTS Energy Research Center. And then, of course, the North Coast Otters is a public arts and science initiative with 100 plus otter structures throughout the area. These are things that people look forward to and are seeing. Let's switch gears just a little bit and talk a little bit about COVID. This is something that has in fact impacted all of us on campus and in our respective communities and our families. And it's something that we certainly hope goes away, but it's changed us forever. And going back arguably is not going to be the option because we've been changed forever. What's played out are things substantially changing from minute to minute to minute to minute. When this happened last spring semester, it had been occurring, obviously, in other parts throughout the world, but when it hit us in the United States, and particularly in this community, a good number of changes occurred very rapidly. But since that time, there have been many people on campus who have been dealing with the day-to-day issues of campus during a pandemic, during a state of emergency. And for many of those individuals, there's been no let-up, none. They've been going nonstop, sometimes 12 plus hours in a day early on, just to make sure operationally we were going. It was not until after commencement that in some respects we were able to just slow down a little and catch our breath. And then the month continues and we have to adjust to virtual instruction, face-to-face instruction, facilities improvements, the things that needed repair anyway, funding, and a host of other things. There's a concern at every university across the United States that if students stop out during this pandemic year, they won't return to the university setting, or all of them won't return. And that's a big deal. That is something that would suggest that the students in our pipeline right now will be lost for a generation because they will not return. And what they could have contributed as college graduates will be lost, arguably, for that generation. But we also know that we have a duty to this community. And in setting in motion our plan for returning this fall, we've tried to do our best due diligence in being socially responsible to the community and to the employees of this university. That was, in no small task, easy to do, but I still believe today that our plan and our actions thus far have taken into account as many of those different points of view and measures as possible. Yet we're still here, and we will do what we can to help our students progress toward a degree. Which leads us to my final remarks. These are very critical years for us as a university. I guess you can say every year is a critical year. I almost feel like this is The Bachelor. This is the most dramatic season ever. But these are the critical years for us as a university. We will continue to reintroduce ourselves to our community and to our region. And I look at our region from San Diego all the way up to Alaska, and from Mexico all the way through Canada, all the way over to Nevada, particularly Reno. We have a big region, and we pull from all of those areas, inclusive of Asia and Hawaii. I think there's opportunities that were made for us to stake our claim in who we are as a university and reintroduce ourselves to all those communities and sub-communities throughout those areas. We'll continue to address marketing, enrollment, retention, and our new academic programs. We will continue to address and look at our diversity and inclusion, particularly what we as a university want our students to know upon leaving this university. Without question, number 4, we have to align our expenditures to our resources so we can actually invest in our innovation and our entrepreneurship in the coming months and years. We will try to model ourselves as a true global community. And lastly, in our critical years, we'll continue to cultivate our friends, our scholarships, and resources. I ask you all to, 1, recommit as we begin this academic year to serving students the best way that we know how. We still are one team. We're one big lumberjack family, and our commitment is very important. Their progression toward a degree is what we do. Number 2, I ask us to maintain our contagious positive attitude. It's okay to have a positive attitude. There are challenges in front of us, but we're at a university. What we do is we work through those challenges and we demonstrate to our students, model to our students how to work through those challenges so that they can learn that going forward and model that behavior in the workforce later as younger adults. So let's maintain that contagious positive attitude that we have, and we'll get through this together as one big family and team. 3, focus on what we have and not what we do not. It's okay that we evolve as a university. It really is. We have to. Every generational change through the course of this history's life has met with some evolution as a university. And it's our time to make one of those major steps as a university and evolve given the times that we happen to be in. We do that, Humboldt State will still be around 100 more years from now. It's okay to evolve, but I ask you all to focus on what we have. Number 4, I continue to ask you to get out of your comfort zone and find a new one. If it even means engaging with other individuals outside of your department in a Zoom call, or attending a staff council social virtually, or going to a chamber mixer virtually, those are opportunities to engage and join the community. Some of the strategic things we're trying to do as a university, that only helps us get you out there. Our community wants to see our faculty and staff. Here's our chance. Let's continue in number 5 to help sell this university. Yes, we have a few warts, but we have some amazing selling points as a university. So let's sell those university Let's sell those points, about this university. Let's go into selling mode and talk about the things that you're doing in the classroom that you're proud of. Those are things that we gravitate to. Talk about those things. Or if you don't want to talk about yourself, then talk about the colleague that you used to share an office with or a laboratory with when you could go to work. Talk about the work that they were doing or are doing as in a way to sell this university. And lastly, enjoy your colleagues and our students. We don't have to fight every day. This is good work. We get to wake up and work with the smartest people on the planet. The top 7% of the individuals that call themselves college graduates and those that aspire to become college graduates. We get to work at a university. We have some amazingly talented colleagues around us. Take a moment to ask them what it is they do for fun, or what it is that they are researching, or what it is that they do on the side. You might find some like gardening as much as writing, surprisingly, or cooking, or in my case, riding horses or flying. We also have a good number, 6,000 plus students who all have stories to tell. It's okay to engage in that storytelling because, like I said before, we get to work at a university. More than 100 years ago, generous donors from the local community came together to help create the Humboldt State Normal School. William Preston pledged a 12-acre site. Other community members promised more than $12,000, found temporary startup space, and identified local residences to house those students. That charitable support from the community, alumni, and the others has continued throughout the years. This is how Humboldt was founded. So like many of you, I wake up every day and remember what a gift that I've been given, a true gift, to have the opportunity to inspire others, just like you may in your classroom. Your work does make a positive difference for our students, so please never forget that. Thank you for all that you've done this past year, and thank you again for what you're about to embark in a very uncertain period of time. Your willingness to adapt is leading us to a place no university has ever been before. And I commend you for all the steps that you've been taking, not only in this summer, but last spring, to get us to where we are today. I wish you good fortune and goodwill as we progress forward through this fall semester. I sincerely hope that COVID avoids your family and yourself, and know that if it does, you have a family of lumberjacks here to support you. This video, as we wrap up, is about dreams. It's the one that we showed during the investiture, and some of you may not have seen it. I ask you to stick around toward its end, and then you'll see the final slides, which are a reminder. There's only a few universities, only a few, that can be called by one name, and we're one of them. We're Humboldt. Thanks again.
My dream right now is to work with people in the juvenile justice systems through social work. I think Humboldt's impacted that a lot because the people here are so diverse. I'm learning so much from each and every one of them, and I think Humboldt's a great place to be able to connect with people that maybe you haven't connected with before, and it's definitely shaping me into who I am today.
My dream is to be a conservation photographer for this nonprofit called Sea Legacy. And their mission is the restoration and protection of oceans and marine life. And Humboldt State is helping me achieve that because ever since I moved up here, I've become a lot more environmentally conscious.
My dream is I really want to be a math teacher for specifically middle school and high schoolers. And I feel like HSU is preparing me by educating me on social inequalities. I'm really excited to bring those experiences with me to my future classrooms.
my dream is to live for other people and to live in a world where I can love myself just as much as others can. I think Humboldt State has done that in many ways by giving spaces for students of color and people of color. I think more than anything, HSU promotes a place where we can love.
My dream is to ultimately help others, and this community has shown me so much love, and I want to bring that love to the rest of the world.
My dream is to travel around the world and partake in other cultures and pick up and give back to the community.
By using all the skills I have gained here at Humboldt State to take them back to my hometown of Los Angeles and use them to give back to my community.
My dream is actually to become a firefighter.
All I know is that I love being outside and working with animals.
What I want to do is be a professor.
To be an environmental politician.
My dream is to influence the world with my art.
To work as an urban forester within California.
To help low-income communities and underrepresented and marginalized communities.
To create green energy that is 100% symbiotic with nature itself.
To learn about animals and work with animals and see how humans can help them.
To mentor the adults and the children within the criminal justice system.
To humanize those whose stories have been stolen from them.
To help my nation to get it more developed.
When I get my major in biology, I can become a teacher.
Work on projects involving water quality.
To own my own physical therapy clinic.
Practice for sustainability.
My dream's to be able to have my own television show, just like the great Steve Irwin did himself, and spread a message of environmental awareness. You know, I just got here 1 year ago, and Humboldt's home. I'm very happy that I chose this place to call home.